Hello, welcome to this recording. Let me share my screen. This will be the fourth of this series that I've entitled the 88 series. We'll get into more about the number 88 as time goes on, but really I've just I was going to say created, but if you've watched the other videos, I initially wrote the slides, although I've already left some of the stories that I shared in the class that I've shared about. I feel like I'm getting a little wordy right now, but that grain of salt journey that I hosted from December 2024 to May 2025. Um, that is when I initially created the slides, although I created the content before then. Um, but I'm not necessarily sharing this to or like with an energy of like, oh, I hope everybody sees this and it makes 100% sense. That's just not how I roll. And so in sharing this and other series that I'm posting on YouTube for now, it's just to express myself in different ways. And those ways will change as time goes on. So thank you for being here. If you choose to watch this series, I personally love it. And like I shared in the last recording, that I had furiously written 100 some pages of notes that were initially just for me. I had done a past life regression with my one friend, and it really catapulted me into just a different view of myself and the why I share things or what I'm even doing. And so I don't need to really know it all. But okay, now I kind of forget why I was mentioning that in that way. You know, when that happens, like, yeah, I forgot what I was talking about, but I heard a noise, like the water's running in my house. And so it just like, I got pulled into like, I'm water in a pipe and I'm whooshing around. So, sorry, my nose is so itchy. But okay, so. I just I know that there is a way that I had been doing things, not 100%, but maybe we do things to make money or maybe we don't even know why. So I don't need to know all of the whys, but this is truly something that is more than just for me and why I turned it into all of this. So it was really fun to do, but as I'm rereading them and editing the slides a little bit and then reading these on the videos, I'm like, oh, I'm proud of myself, I guess. And beyond that, it's not just about me because what I'm displaying is the very literal fabric of reality. And so you will see as well in your own life, if you choose to watch these, how these themes arise. And if you do choose to watch all of them, I will bring everything back in a way to mind fuck you, to help you make love to your mind, if that sounds better. I'm gonna make love to your mind. This is some sapiosexuality. No, but yeah, thank you for being here and let's just get on into it. So I recently mentioned mentioned I recently mentioned the more rare total solar eclipse. If you recall, from April 2024, we experienced one and it was dubbed the Great North American Eclipse. I only touched on some of these eclipses. Okay, I didn't in this recording, but I talked about it a little bit during the last recording. I will actually share the slide that was from that on the next slide. So if we go back a little further in time, not as far back as 18 to 19 years ago, although you're welcome to explore where you are at in your life, we can see how the Virgo Pisces axis has been affecting the collective. There's no tropical without sidereal. No sidereal without tropical, am I right? LOL, just kidding. But I find they both reference the other often to prove why they are right. Someone who shares tropical will talk about sidereal and how dumb and wrong it is, and someone who shares about sidereal or some branch of sidereal will share about how dumb and wrong tropical is. I think I can find, or I know that I can find so many keys and pieces of gold, if you will, within them both. And we are the entire zodiac after all, right? So here we are looking at both, here meaning what we're about to look at, and some of what I've already referenced and will reference, both 13 sign true sidereal, the 13 sign true sidereal lens. Um, okay, you know what? Where did I? Part of me was like, I should just start this over. I'm being dumb. But then I'm like, uncomfortably, I'm just going to edit this in the moment. So here we are looking at both the 13 sign true sidereal lens and the 12 sign tropical when it comes to the eclipses and the Virgo Pisces axis. Um, so what I have here is like, whoa, a lot of information, right? But let me walk you through it. We have in EST, so for the most part, I put the dates. Some of them I put both days, so just don't mind me and my inconsistencies. But in Eastern Standard Time, although if I could be really technical, it's just Eastern Time because some parts of the year are daylight time, so it'd be EDT, but I digress. What we have listed here are the eclipse seasons and some of the nodal axes shift axis. Now I don't know how to talk and say that word. The nodal axis shifts and when those start or change. So let me just walk you through row by row here. We have September and October 2024 eclipse season. This is a part of what sparked me to write the notes that I wrote in October and November. Um, September 17th, we had a partial lunar eclipse. This is where in 13 sign true sidereal, we had Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, but in 12 sign tropical, we were still in the Aries North Node, Libra South Node lens. I'm not going to read every little thing here. You can see it yourself. But what I did put underneath these snapshots of the eclipses and the new and full moons is where the sun was and the moon as well. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about when it comes to why I chose to focus on the Virgo Pisces axis, not because I think it's better than any other axis, but because of the length of time that we will be in this energy and the timing of when I'm doing this. So you could be watching these videos whenever, if they're still up here or wherever they are, but also they definitely carry a potency for the now moment. So we have October 2nd, 2024, the new moon annular solar eclipse. I believe that was is that the Ring of Fire? Um, so we have that Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, Aries North Node, Libra South Node. And then January 11th, 2025, approximately, this is when the nodal axis shifts from in the tropical lens here in this column from the Aries North Node to the Pisces North Node and the Libra South Node to the Virgo South Node. Now, when we're looking at tropical, it's going to primarily be this 12 sign, 12 house, whole sign, very cookie cutter ish, neat. It's very mathematical in a certain way when it comes to that cookie cutter energy. It's not bad, it's not good, but that is why the nodes will shift in such a perfect or seemingly perfect way, where we got one moment in time where it shifts from Pisces, from Aries to Pisces and Libra to Virgo. You'll see on the next, when I get there, that sidereal does it a little differently. So March 2025, we had a total lunar eclipse on the 13th or 14th, and this is where both tropical and sidereal nodes were in Pisces and Virgo, and we had a Pisces sun and a Virgo moon. So this was very cementing for me doing that journey. I initially planned to do the class for like 3 months, 3 months, and then bam, the eclipses will happen and people will be like kind of prepared. But really, I had no idea what I was getting into when I shared these notes. And in me wanting to share how alive everything is, the aliveness came alive and it was no longer up to just me and my timeline. So it ended up being 6 months. So March 29th, this a partial solar eclipse at the bottom. We still have the Pisces North Node in both lenses, Virgo South Node, but then we have Pisces Sun and Moon in sidereal and Aries Sun and Moon in tropical. So sort of closing out, if you will, the tropical nodal axis shift. And sidereal actually at this point begins to move out of the Pisces Virgo axis. So up here at the top on this second grid, we have July 2025, and that is, like I mentioned, sidereal does it a little differently. So initially, the North Node stayed with Pisces, but the South Node changed to Leo. So you could say it wasn't just July, depending on the sidereal lens that you might be looking at. But primarily, we are just looking at the summer, you could say, or July here with a certain lens. So we have Pisces North Node, Leo South Node, and then eventually shifting to an Aquarius North Node and a Leo South Node. So right now I'm recording this. It is August 27th. And so we are nearing this September 7th full moon total lunar eclipse, where officially the 13 sign true sidereal nodes, or hold on, let me let me pause this a sec. Okay, so I made a little mistake and I didn't change it to the Leo South Node initially. So sorry if I've confused you, but we have September 2025 eclipse season, September 7th, full moon total lunar eclipse, where it will be, you can see it here. We have Pisces, North Node, Leo, South Node. This is in the IAU approach on genetic matrix. However, I did include this from Mastering the Zodiac, which I've mentioned before. So this is from September 7th. It is the 13 sign true sidereal midpoint approach. And we have, if you look down here at the bottom, Aquarius North Node, Leo South Node already. So again, depending on the sidereal lens that you're looking at, by the time this eclipse comes around, we are officially into that. And I don't think I included the prior eclipses, only the future ones. So, it is what it is. So, meaning it is what it is. Like I could have shown you more. And like I said, a part of me is like, should I just start this video over because I made a mistake? No, I didn't make a mistake. It's just that I didn't feel the need to include all of them. So I included this graphic of just the info we're looking at. So I thought I included it, but I guess I didn't. So we have, if you see here, these nodal axis is shifting, but we're still clinging on. In my view, in this approach, I have a Pisces North Node, like I'd mentioned before, and a Leo South Node. And that was a mind fuck for me a little bit, but I like looking at all the different lenses because it can be a mind fuck. So, if you look at, though, a jump ahead to February and March of 2026, we will be in that official Aquarius North Node, Leo South Node, per the genetic matrix lens that I'm primarily focusing on. But it's not because I think it's the most correct. It's just because I'm just doing it this way, okay? So then we have, however, even though on the 17th of February in 2026, there is the Aquarius North Node in sidereal and the Pisces North Node in tropical, it is both a sidereal and tropical Aquarius sun and moon. So I'm not showing this to prove anything. I'm showing how long this energy is expanding in terms of both of these lenses. So if you look, I'm not going to read all the rest of them. I think I've brought you through enough of it here to get the idea that we're shifting into this different axis. We're in this or that axis, whatever it is, we're focused on the Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node, or just the Pisces, Virgo Pisces axis. But it's more than just like it being so strictly about one thing. So here are the charts. On the left, you have up top the 13 sign true sidereal, IAU method, IAU being that NASA boundary method, if you will. So you could say it's still wrong, it's still nefarious or whatever. But I am not using this again to frame anything as right or wrong, but to play with a certain energy as all being alive. So, the tropical 12 sign, if you look, I have equal housing in the sidereal and whole sign housing in the tropical, just to try to make them as unique as possible and true to each other. Then I have September 21st, and the same thing, sidereal up top, tropical down below. So there's a lot of other things we could look at here, but all these videos aren't about all of this. I feel like I just kind of spent an absurdly long time on all of that, but like, whatever. This is why I say I am a free form thinker. You could say I'm long-winded. You could call me boring too. That's fine. I'm just not I'm just not far. I realize sometimes I look at myself in these videos and I'm like, um, like I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing, but I'm all like hunched over my laptop or whatever. But I've been doing these like neck massage exercises. So I'm just those random, but I just remembered I'm a person and I could see myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. And I don't really care how you see me. Not like I don't care, but like you could call me ugly or you could call me pretty or you could be like, what is she doing? I just think it's nice to be able to go, oh, um, maybe I'm sitting a certain way and I don't realize it when I'm real like hyper focused in whatever. And then I'm like, oh, why does my neck hurt so much? And it's like, well, just look how you're sitting in that video. I'm trying to relax more, you know? So I'm just mentioning all the things where it's not about like the trends and having perfect posture, but we're in these bodies. Okay, so I left this up here while I'm talking because I don't want to mention all of it, but I did want to point something out. So we have 2026, four eclipses. Four is like the neat little package, two seasons. But then if you look at 2027, 2028, and 2029, I believe in 2030, I don't think I included that. Yeah, we're back to four in that pretty little package kind of way. I don't know what that means, but we have five eclipses in 2027. Ooh, five in 2028. And six in 2029. What? That's pretty kooky. I'm not here to say whether the Earth is flat or round. However, in this 88 series, we will be talking about it. So let me just get back into it here. Thank you for sitting through that long, interesting, Mhm. That was my chair. It wasn't a fart. That was my chair. If you even heard that. Okay. From my Eclipse 2024 packet. So yes, at the end of 2024, or that was eclipse season, September, October, I did a little eclipse packet and I had pulled cards. I did some of my meridian dice, if you're familiar with these meridian dice that I made, where it has the meridians on each side or whatever. So I did like different dice rolls and card pulls and energetic stuff. And so this is from part of it. Okay. In addition to the September and October 2024 eclipses and the October 17th, 2024 almost eclipse. So in that year, 2024, we had an almost eclipse. So not five eclipses, but a moment that came very, 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 very close to being an eclipse. And if you weren't on Earth, could have been seen as an eclipse elsewhere, apparently. Okay, so October 17th, 2024, almost eclipse. Around that time, we had Comet C 2023 A3, the Shunshin Atlas, which moved through Virgo in September, and then through Ophiuchus in October. It was predicted to return to its home, the Oort cloud, after reaching perihelion around September 27th and perigee around October 12th. Perigee, I don't know. I don't know words. And furthermore, there was a mini moon for about 2 months from the end of September. It is or was a small asteroid said to likely be from the Arjuna asteroid belt, which is made up of many asteroids which with orbits around the sun similar to Earth's. It is called uh, that 5 that's right there should be over here, but I didn't edit it correctly. It is called 2024 PT5. It is about 10 meters across and was supposedly bound to Earth's gravity for around 53 days as it circled the Earth one time. It was said to have left our atmosphere around mid-November. The Arjuna asteroid belt contains Neos. Shout out to the Matrix movies, but also a boo to how they have overly influenced people in a certain way. I can't stand when people are like, we gotta get out of the Matrix. And they're definitely referencing what that movie influenced them to believe about this reality versus their own gnosis and experience, but whatever. I digress. Neos meaning near Earth objects, objects with orbits similar to Earth's. Arjuna is said to be a central figure or hero in Hindu epic Mahabharata. The word Arjuna means white, clear, or silver. The comet highlights Virgo and Ophiuchus, two very keen signs in areas like herbalism and tender love. The Atlas name is also a literal nod to our C1 or atlas bone in our vertical spine. This area is where the base of the spine meets the neck and is sometimes referred to as the alta major, the thalamus complex, the atomic doorway, the mouth of God or goddess, or the ninth chakra. It's connected to Ophiuchus and the color silver. So let us nod our heads as we acknowledge. I think the axis bone helps with this. And then the atlas. Yes. No. I think, and I put that in here somewhere. The pictures of the atlas and the axis, they're here somewhere. They just weren't right there. So let's continue with the primary themes that we had focused on in the last video and started to talk a little bit more. Poseidon and his trident. So Poseidon has been described as the god of fresh water, salt water, the sea, the oceans, etc. But of course, with mostly everything here, there is contention. And beyond one set of myths, there are many, many stories. He has also been called the monarch of the sea, and we will go deeper or into deeper layers of monarch energies when we chat about some governmental programmings. Um, he's the monarch of the sea. I call him the Dawn of Poisson. Now let's focus on the trident for a bit. Poseidon, Neptune, the sea, Pisces, a three-pointed spear. Why? What does it mean? Well, let's play with that. Okay. So if we are looking at the trident, let's back it up a little bit and look at some surrounding energies as well. Poseidon or Neptune and his brothers, Zeus, Jupiter, or Hades and Pluto. It is said that when Cronus or Saturn was overthrown, the world was divided amongst these three sons. So Cronus being the father of Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades. Cronus is also connected to grain, like Virgo, and to the scythe. I feel like I know words and then I get so like reading a word and someone's gonna see it and I don't know stuff. I mean, I already don't know things, not in a demeaning way, but like, do we know anything? All right, but the sickle as well as the harp. What is that with an E though? Harpy? Dent. The word dent, some of the etymology here is strike, blow, make a small hollow by pressure. It's the root of the word tooth. Tooth with Middle English is toth, Toth, meaning appetite or bodily desire. This, of course, makes me think of Thoth or Toth in many layers, one being his supposed Greek counterpart, Hermes or Mercury, another nod to Virgo. One means two or is by, and three is try. So we have dent, UNIDENT, BIDENT, TRIDENT. The earth and Mount Olympus or ether or space ruled by all three suns, where all three suns align. Oh, and they all three rode horses. Another hippocampus nod. So we're looking at, again, these layers of where myth and story can actually be related to the anatomy in our body in varying ways. Not like we are just these physical beings, but that we are the cathedral and the religion all with we are all of it. So as you see, I wrote suns and suns. So if you remember, we're talking about that inner lamp of the cerebrum, the solar plexus as well. And then you could talk about like the sacral ganglia as that other sun, you could say, like where there's more sexual energies. And they say when the sperm and the egg meet, it's a bright burst of light. So again, we have Unident, and this is Zeus's symbol, the lightning bolt. He is Jupiter, he is skies. Unident means having one tooth. So you could also look at this as one-dimensional in some way. Take it with a grain of salt. Bident, Hades symbol, aka the pitchfork. And there's layers here like pitchforks, bing, and tuning. What is that called? Resonance, when you hit different pitchforks that are the same frequency. Bing. You don't need to hit or strike all of them. They will come alive with that tuning. Bident, Hades, he is Pluto, he is the underworld, and Bident means having two teeth. So we're also looking at two-dimensional energies here. Then we have the trident, Posidon symbol. He is Neptune, he is the seas, having three teeth. So we have skies, skies, underworld, and seas. This is a lot to chew on when you really allow the different layers to flow over you. Taking a bite out of life in different forms, you could say. The identity in the unident, bident, and trident. The identity. The identity. This Thoth reminds me of Thoth and the varying dimensional layers of these archetypes and their weapons or symbology. First, second, and third dimensional layers of Thoth or the mind, which is funny because in some senses, Thoth is Mercury or Hermes. So we have Unident for birding in the skies, Bident, an agricultural tool for the lands, and Trident for fishing in the seas. It's interesting to note that in one approach, German New Medicine, teeth are related to independence, boundaries, self-advocacy, and self-expression. Issues with the top and bottom teeth and which kinds of teeth can help someone play around with and contemplate concepts related to conflict within relationships, ones with partners, with parents, and with children. The unident, again, Zeus's symbols. This is just the same information, but I put it here. So we have unident energy, Jupiter, first dimensional sky energy, that wisdom seeking, what do we have traditionally paired with Jupiter is Sagittarius, but also some Pisces energy. Then we have the bident. So you see that pitchfork looking energy. Um, and this is Pluto energy, which is scorpionic. It's one of those supposedly later discovered energies. And then the trident, Poseidon symbol, Neptune. And Neptune is often, yes, paired with Pisces. So that's more modern, you could say. But doesn't matter. Just playing around, just playing around. Okay, so German New Medicine. Location. This is from the website, one of the German New Medicine websites. Location. Which teeth are affected by the bite conflict? That's what it's called, a bite conflict when there's an issue. So which teeth are affected by the bite conflict is determined by the individual perception of the conflict situation in correspondence to the specific function of the teeth. We have the incisors, the front teeth, as you see here. I think it's like the front four. They're used for biting and cutting food. The related bite conflict would then be not being able to bite, snap at someone, or show someone's teeth. So this is that like self advocacy to a degree. I'm sorry, I think I'm getting allergies, but like the fall allergies already because I realize how much I'm clearing my throat. I don't know. I'm apologizing because that bothers me sometimes when I'm listening to someone and they got like a tickle and I want to clear it for them or just hearing them clear it. Stop it. Sorry. We have the canines at the corner of the mouth. They are used for gripping and tearing food. The related bite conflict being not able to snatch a person. Hmm. The molars at the back are used for crushing and chewing food. We didn't focus on those premolars, okay? The related bite conflict, not being able to crunch or grind an opponent, chewing him up and spitting him out. So that's German New Medicine. I like German New Medicine, but as someone who remembers other lives, if you will, vividly, and like when I was growing up, I'd be like, what does it mean if I remember being African? And I am like getting advice from this other me, I feel. You could easily call me crazy or possessed or whatever. Um, so what I'm saying is I like German New Medicine, but for me, it still does not cover certain things. I can definitely get a lot out of it, but I still feel like a weirdo fucking freak, like everywhere I go. I wonder how these layers, I wonder how these layers could also be contemplated along with the uni, bi, and tri teeth of the three mythical brothers mentioned prior. Like which ones of these would be the incisors, canines, and molars? Um, I feel like it would be like incisors as um the Zeus, canines as like the Hades energy, and then molars as like the Poseidon energy. But I don't know. Note, this is still German New Medicine. Note, whether the jaw or teeth on the right or left side are affected is determined by a person's handedness, like right or left-handedness, and whether the conflict is mother-child or partner related. For example, a right-handed person would respond to conflict with his or her mother or child with the left side of the body. Conflict active phase. Loss of dentin causing holes or cavities in the tooth. Since dentin cavities are painless, contrary to cavities in the enamel, they are usually only detected through an X-ray. If, however, a cavity progresses to the pulp, the exposure of the pulp causes a painful sensitivity to hot, cold, sweet, or sour foods and drinks. Excessive dentin loss due to lasting conflict activity destroys the internal structures of the tooth, with the result that the tooth breaks. Without blood supply to the pulp, the tooth starts to rot from the inside. Note, tooth decay, whether it occurs within the dentin or the enamel, is unrelated to sugar in foods or liquids. Not every child or adult with a sweet tooth develops cavities. Conversely, cavities are also found in people who hardly eat any sweets. Tooth decay is also unrelated to dental care. Persons who are consistent with their dental hygiene also have cavities and the other way around. My family members would be a good example because I would say if we're looking at like the neurodivergent spectrum, I lean more towards I don't even like water on my body. So I don't like toothbrushes in my mouth. Ugh. But I still do it. But I would say my whole life I've gotten cavities no matter what. Whereas my family members who take very good care of their teeth have also gotten cavities no matter what. So there is something to this when it comes to these generational conflicts. And I think we're at this interesting stage where we're like demonizing things or are calling certain things trauma, like using the word in a certain way and healing in a certain way and all these things where like I don't remember if I brought it up during these videos, but the class I took a class in 2019, right before COVID. It was this class at a community college with all these studies that had been done on bioenergetics. So Western medicine often doesn't actually recognize or acknowledge bioenergetics to a degree. However, there are still a lot of studies done in America that are fascinating. So it's not just about America, but you have to wonder sometimes why, beyond all the logical, nefarious things, if there's like, let's say, an amnesia that has occurred, America is very behind in a lot of things, even though they're supposedly advanced in certain things. And so I like to see again, I think I mentioned it here, but that bridging between Eastern and Western rather than one being worse or better or whatever. And so it's the idea that, we have these auric layers. So, a very simple version, and if I already talked about this, sorry, but it's like, let's say you have a physical issue like a rash, and you don't realize that this rash is maybe caused by some kind of karmic energy. Karmic simply being cause and effect. And the idea here being that we're not just these individuals, we have an eternal soul. And this soul takes many forms during the process and phases of our existence. Maybe we never die ever with this soul energy. And so maybe there is a patterning from another lifetime we've lived. We're going to keep it more simple here, but that other energy would be out in other auric layers. If we just focused on the first three auric layers, which is like physical or etheric, and it's not even the physical body, it's right around it, but it's, you could say, most connected to the physical or closest to. Then you have that second layer, which is the emotional body, and then the third layer, which is the mental body. So, mind you, take that with a grain of salt because some people might label them differently, but the idea being that the torus field or the energy moves in a certain way. And so you say you have a physical rash and you're like, I'm just going to apply something or take something, whether it's pharmaceutical or not, where like I'm going to change the physical with something physical, and that can work to a certain dimensional layer and degree. But let's say that the source or the karmic energy, and take that word with a grain of salt too, this energy, this dissonance, let's say it's about frequency. So we have all these layers, and we could say we have a holistic spectrum of frequencies. And so at certain times in the way we are focusing and experiencing, we resonate with certain frequencies that in other times would feel more cacophonic or dissonant to us, uncomfortable, foreign, whatever. So we might not always want to face things. It's not that it's all ours, but it is our responsibility to, I guess, be aware enough to process things in a certain way. Because again, we're not seeking to like know it all. But without going on and on here, what I'm saying is, let's say that energy that caused the the rash is actually an emotional pattern, or no, a mental pattern, let's say. But if the energy moves around like this and we're like, okay, I put that stuff on the rash or I took that stuff and it cleared it up a little bit, but then it comes back. And let's say that energy, because it's moving like this, it moves outwards and you're feeling, well, actually, let's say it even moves inwards too, moves outwards and inwards. So, like, before you got the rash, maybe you had like a certain mental pattern going on. And you're like, I think I'm a dum dum about this thing or whatever it is. And then the energy, how it moves, it's like, let's say it goes more into the emotional and you feel that. You're like, ugh, I am a dum dum. I feel so dumb. This is a silly example. But then let's say when that dissonance energy hits your physical layer, it manifests or materializes because of the dimensional layer through which it's processed, meaning there were thoughts, there were feelings, now it's physical. So let's say that energy comes back and it's another rash or maybe something different, but we're still just mostly focusing on the physical resolution to the physical issue when there are probably and potentially mental and emotional layers of this going on. Beyond that, we could get into other auric layers and it would be a lot longer of a talk, but I'm just saying that there's a lot more to all of these things than it just being about sugar. I've quit sugar before. Um, but then I go through periods where I really don't think sugar is bad. I don't know if anyone here follows Cows Eat Grass blog, but he's someone that at first I was like, what is he saying? And then I'm like, you know what? I am being a little crazy about sugar and I'm trying to police everyone and tell them what's wrong with them based on what they're eating when like that energy is more so the gross energy. And that's a good example there of what I'm talking about, even where it's, I know I'm talking about that, but a different layer where it's like, is it sugar or is it like not knowing? So the not knowing gets turned into like, oh, it's wheat. Oh, it's the oxalates. Oh, it's and like at some point or another, it could be. And yet, we're never necessarily these completely fully stationary beings. Okay, but let me get back to this, okay? Poseidon, trident, German New Medicine, teeth, notes. Okay, so Zeus, clear skies. Poseidon, cloudy, rainy skies. That's not all he is, but Neptune. Neptune is nuptial, marriage of heaven and earth. Neptune is covering. Neptu means moist substance, and nuptu means he who is moist. Sorry if you don't like that word. Some say the balance of saliva and hydration in the mouth is a big factor for cavities, etc., etc. There's many stories here. Another note, a moist substance in the body, aside from fascia and cerebrospinal fluid, although related and connected and included, is the substance that makes up neurotransmitters or hormones. Depending on the location and function of a specific substance, it is then dubbed a neurotransmitter or hormone. Meaning, if we're talking neurology, we're talking more about neurotransmitters in some areas, and then in other forms and processes, that same substance in a different part of the brain is referred to as a hormone. And this is a little similar to the way people look at vitamin D, because it's actually a hormone. And so all of these words and these categorizations are not all that is. And it's a little similar to taking things just at a physical or one-dimensional level. We can get caught in that one-dimensional echo chamber of like, no, 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 a neurotransmitter is this and a hormone's that. And it's like, yes, however, let's look at the holistic being and the layers of what we're talking about here and play around with it. Doesn't mean anything's happening to you to be curious. And I'm someone who's had a lot of health issues, if you will. And so I know what it's like to like be in pain or discomfort and feel like someone's not getting you and they want to explain something and you're just looking for I don't know what, but like I'm saying I get it, but that there are many, many layers here. So, like I said, I like to play around with German New Medicine, but I also do not find it that relatable in certain ways. For example, vividly recollecting my own path through space-time, and what we might label as other lives is not included in certain conflict scenario and framework suggestions. But when taking these notes, I realized that years ago I read this page wrong, and one of my issues with my teeth is actually related to my relationship with my mother and not my father, like I guess I wanted it to be. Maybe making it easier to face because he's mean. Like he's more overtly, outrightly. So it made me again think of this angry Poseidon, this tyrannical father energy who attempted to scare me, but did not. So maybe through all these layers, we attempt to avoid something we do not want to face, only to be faced with that which we wanted to avoid. The relationships we have with our family members and partners, and the roles we play through archetypal or typal means, it is all like a beast of its own, and yet it is also a magnificent display of everything existing and anything. Echoes, webs, threads, how it is all different and all the same. Do we change the story so the story changes? Or does the unknown wish to remain just that? Before we get to the forging, excuse me, of his trident, let us explore a little more differing lenses of Poseidon and Neptune. He was said to have the title Enesidion, Earthshaker in Crete. It's hard for me to read when it's English Greek, but if I saw the Greek, I could read it, even though I don't know Greek. I just studied ancient Greek. But okay. Um, in Crete, he was associated with the goddess of childbirth, Eleutheia. Through Homer and the Mycenaean titles were also used in classical Greece with similar meaning. He was identified with anax, and he carried the epithets enosiagaios, the and enosidas, earth shaker. Okay, it's kind of the same thing. He also had the epithet eutraina, with goodly trident. It's from Pindar. So if surviving linear B clay tablets can be trusted, the names Posida wo ni and Posidao, Poseidon, occurs with greater frequency than does Diuja, Zeus. A feminine variant, Posidia, is also found, indicating a lost consort goddess, in effect, the precursor of Amphitrite. Amphitrite. Poseidon was the chief god at Pylos. The title Wanaka appears in the inscriptions. Poseidon was identified with Wanax from the Homeric era. See, I did it again. I start going like, now like, and that what I was saying earlier is when I do that, I can see this like thing here. And I don't know, I broke my collarbone twice when I was younger, and that really, I don't know, I've like I said, I've dealt with a lot of pain and issues, and I always think it's funny how often I creep towards. I'm like, so I'm trying to use this, I guess, doing these videos as an opportunity to be like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, you. Okay, thanks, you. All right, let's continue. Poseidon was identified with Wanox from the Homeric era to classical Greece. Anax, which sort of reminds me of ants, brought up earlier. The title didn't mean only king, but also protector. Wanox had chthonic aspects, and he was closely associated with Poseidon, who had the title Lord of the Underworld, like Pluto. The chthonic nature, and I don't know how you say that. I said "k," but it's chthonic nature of Poseidon. It could be, I'm just reading it. I don't know. See, I feel dumb when I don't know how to say things. Uh, and then I feel like I hear my Baltimore accent. I feel dumb and I don't know how to say things. That's not even a Baltimore accent, but just don't mind me none. The chthonic nature of Poseidon is also indicated by his title, Daone, Earthshaker, in Mycenaean, Knossos, and Pylos. Through Homer, the epithet was also used in classical Greece. I don't know if I've mentioned, but I was not a great student, and I also got like picked on at all the schools I went to. Like I got singled out. In my ancient Greek class, he would grade my quizzes in front of the class because it was funny to him how bad I was when I was like trying to stay sane through all of the things I remembered, which if I'm confusing you and you don't know, like I've shared, you can go read or watch my story time with Tree videos, and I share a little bit more about me and my specific journey, but I've mentioned it, remember, in other lives and stuff. I've always been like, just stay sane and don't do anything too crazy that the bad aliens are going to kill you. So, mind you, I'm not in that place anymore, but that's where I was in high school. And so I'd be like, oh my God. And like my home life was dark. So it's just a lot. So, what I'm saying, I feel stupid. I'm not saying like knowing how to pronounce words means you're stupid or smart. I'm referencing that I had a specific experience again and again when I was younger that I feel is related to all of this, where like, I'm not here to tell people they're smart or dumb. I don't really believe in all of that, even though that sounds stupid to people. Like, oh, you don't believe in that. So I don't know. I just wanted to mention that like I felt very alone and scared. Like I even feel like a little lump in my throat just trying to read words sometimes. So it's interesting that I decide to read words to people. Okay, Poseidon, anax. Anax, Greek anax, from earlier Wanax, is an ancient Greek word for tribal chief, lord, military leader. It is one of the two Greek titles traditionally translated as king, the other being Basilius, and it is inherited from Mycenaean Greece. It is notably used in Homeric Greek, e.g., for Agamemnon. The feminine form is Anasa, queen, from Wanasa, itself from Wanaktja. Wanaktya. Makes me think of Janus, and this is the representative merge that is made between the eternal spirit body and the seven heavenly worlds that are finally being reunited with the divine counterparts of their physical incarnates located in timelines of matter worlds. And Unisai, the center point of all union, is the central source of creation in which all realities emerge from, and is commonly referred to as spirit or God. The guardians that uphold the cosmic sovereign law of one may refer to the center point as the Unisai. That is from the Keylontic Science and Freedom Teachings. Etymology: the word anax derives from the stem wanacht, and this appears in Mycenaean Greek, written in Linear B. We've already mentioned some of this. The feminine form as wanasa, and the masculine form as wanaka. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Some may compare this to Sanskrit vanij, a word for merchant, Mercury nod, but in the Rig Veda, once used as a title of Indra in Rig Veda 545-6, the word could then be from Proto-Indo-European wenag, roughly bringer of spoils. Compare the etymology of Lord, giver of bread. This makes me think of Pluto, though. Um, you could say Neptune as well, but if you recall from just this, that he was Lord of the underworld here. So there's a lot of this crossover where, like, even with our own identity, you could say it's the entity of the id, or the dent and the entity, the blow here, that who are we truly individual, or are we all that is? And it's important for us to remain true to ourselves in each moment. Not that we are one way with one group of people and one way with another, but yeah, like, we do change in certain ways. Maybe not across the board in every situation, but remaining true to that rather than worrying about this subconscious, unspoken social taboo, stigma, reputation, status layer where we end up being fake. Even like the reason I'm mentioning the things I've mentioned on this video alone, where I'm like, oh, should I start this over? Am I being boring? Like, it's not because I'm trying to come down on myself, but I just get so sick of, like, even me talking about, like, seeing this thing. It's not because I'm like, oh, aesthetically gross. I'm like, whoa, being in a body, and that's me. And, like, doesn't all need to be so serious, but at the same time, like, it is vitally worth it to be yourself, even if, for example, I watch a video of myself and I'll be like, why did I say or do that? Well, how about we don't need to, like, cringe at ourselves and hate it? We can be like, oh, you. Um, I don't know. There's just something to authenticity, but beyond the performance that then becomes authenticity. And then people are marketing authenticity. Okay, Posidon, anax, basil, corianos. Oh, I just love where this went. Like, so much of this stuff wasn't from my notes, but as I made these slides and went along in the class, the reason that it was supposed to be 2 or 3 months but expanded into 6 is because I was acknowledging that everything's alive. And so all these things were coming in ways that I was like, oh, I am so humbled by this, like, in a beautiful way. So, basil, if you remember, on this page, it said basilius. Basil, masculine proper name for Latin basilius, Greek basilios, kingly, royal, basilius, king, especially king of Persia, prince, possibly from a language of Asia Minor, compare Lydian Batos, king, but according to Beeks, it is no doubt of pre-Greek origin. Funny, too, I don't know if you've seen in the news lately, taking everything with a grain of salt. Uh, of course, this is from the Greek Reporter, but it's fossils in Greece suggest human ancestors evolved in Europe, not Africa. Part of me always thinks that, never mind, I won't say it, but there's not necessarily one storyline. I don't care what anyone says, because if someone's out here saying linear time isn't real, and then they're like, listen to my one story about what Earth is all about. So not that it can't be like one or the other, but, like, let's actually talk about stuff we know about instead of generalizing so much. So I could take my own advice here, but Some people are going to see that information and take it all sorts of weird ways. But I think it's very funny. Although, as a half Greek person, I've always thought Greeks can be very ethnocentric in certain ways. So let's say if we're talking about dimensional energies that like we are all of it. If I can recall other lifetimes and being Chinese and Japanese and African, was I as Teresa those things, or are we as human beings lacking in a proper recollection of the mechanics of this plane, with and without emotional energies and histories? So excluding and including, because it can't necessarily just be separate per our logic as humans, because we are not as humans all that is. But maybe we are all that is, and we embody different things. And when we are coming into form, the frequencies that resonate with our being come through with us. And so it's no surprise that the personalities of these other lives I've lived have been able to give me advice about me because we carry a certain sensitivity. You could say I've made it all up. However, I believe there's more of a wholeness going on here, and it's not about a group or race of one peoples. Maybe it was at one point. Maybe that was just one of the stories. But let me continue here. Okay. The youngest of the Greek words for king alongside Koreanos and anax is basilius. Saint Basil the Great lived in 4th century and was the founder of Eastern monasticism. Okay, does basil, Koreanos, and anax sort of sound like, okay, well, yes, basil is basil, but coriander and anise? Just a random thought, or so I thought when I initially wrote that. Oh, fun story. Not fun. You see these Anna stars? I dated this really, okay, I was about to say awful person. I don't know him now. So you could tell by my face. I'm like, I don't want to say that he could be different. I'm not forever holding a grudge. However, a lot of things happened when I dated this person that really changed my life path in a way. So again, I am now plugging my story time with Tree. I'll share about him at one point. One time though, we were at an Indian restaurant and we got some type of dessert that was supposed to have the star anise on top of it. I did not know the dessert, and I did not know. I just took a bite. The star anise on my dessert had slipped underneath some of this like jelly. And so you were supposed to, let's say, bite into the star anise. Some people don't eat it at all. The bite I took had the whole star in it, and it tore up my throat so badly. And I got treated like, well, you're not supposed to eat that. Or why did you do that? I didn't see anyone else's dessert. It looked like just that. So I took one bite and I was like, oh, and so part of me thought, well, I've never had this dessert. I don't necessarily want to be rude and be like, ew, what is this? Which at this point, that was me being fake. Maybe that's why it hurt so much. So that caused a lot of issues in my anatomy. Like it literally, you see the shape of it, it tore up my throat. It was crazy. Okay. Continuing on though, annex, basil, corianos, basilisk. So also related, basilisk, basilica, basilisk, a fabulous, this is from etymology.com or etymologyonline.com. Fabulous lizard-like creature. You could say that's what certain elites are. They see themselves that way. No, okay. Fabulous lizard-like creature. Earlier, basiliscus, from Latin basiliscus, from Greek basiliskos, the name of a kind, I read that just now as a kind serpent. The name of a kind of serpent, also the golden crested wren, literally little king, diminutive of Basilius, king, see Basil, which we went over, said by Pliny to have been so called because of a crest or spot on its head resembling a crown. The basilisk, I didn't include that. I probably should. Now I want to get a picture of it. So I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to add these. to this other page because it's so cute. I said I would love to see. Hold on, I don't need page numbers. We don't need any of those. Okay. We don't need any of those, okay? Oh, I don't know why I'm doing this. Say, I feel like I'm so used to making slides for like people to look at in the future. So, okay. This is that golden crested wren, literally little king, diminutive of Basilius king, said by Pliny to have been called so because of a crest or spot on its head resembling a crown. Isn't it so cute? Hello. I think lots of things are cute. Even things people think are ugly or scary. I'll be like, oh, so cute. Makes me cry. The basilisk has since the 14th century been confused with the cockatrice, and the subject is now a complicated one. Its breath and glance, you see the ants. It stood out to me after going over fine ants. Its breath and glance were said to be fatal. The South American lizard was so called it because it, like a mythical beast, has a crest. From the 1540s as a type of large cannon or throwing shot of 200 pounds. All of this also makes me think of Medusa and Algol, which I'll talk about at some point as well. These are here, a basilica on the left, a basilisk in the middle, and this lizard, South American lizard on the right at the bottom. And that's that golden crested wren. What's up, little king? Cockatrice, fabulous monster. What was this one? Fabulous lizard-like creature. But a cockatrice is a fabulous monster. Don't get them mixed up. Altered by, okay, what is it? Calcatrix, Latin, from late Latin, calcatrix, from Latin calcare, to tread. Heel, see calcaneus. Got some Pisces energies. Um, as a translation of Greek ichneumon, literally tracker or tracer. It was fabled to kill by its glance and could be slain only by tricking it into seeing its own reflection. So that's more so what reminded me of Algol and Medusa. In classical writings, an Egyptian animal of some sort, the mortal enemy of the crocodile, which it tracks down and kills. This vague sense becomes hopelessly confused in the Christian West, and in England, the word ended up applied to the equivalent of the basilisk. Popularly associated with cock, hence the fable that it was a serpent hatched from a cock's egg. It also sometimes was confused with the crocodile. Belief in them persisted even among the educated because the word was used in the KJV several times to translate a Hebrew word for serpent. In heraldry, this is a beast half cock, half serpent. Also in old slang, a cockatrice means a loose woman. Calcaneus, noun, heel bone, 1751 from Latin calcaneum, bone of the heel, from calcem or calx, heel, a word of uncertain origin. What does this say? Culxi, hip, culxness, ankle bone, calca, hip, thigh. Calcaneal, a nod back to those diaphragms that we went over, all in these areas. But also look at that like Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius energy all the way to Pisces in that anatomy. Okay, wait. So hold up. So this happened when I made these slides, and this was like probably end of December, beginning of January this year, 2025. I was tweaking these slides after the last live group call. So during the class, every week we had a live group call. I had mentioned an animal called oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to pause and go grab those slides because you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm actually not gonna go back and explain it all. I don't know how long I'm into this, but I'm gonna go for a bit longer, and I might cut off, like I might end it when I'm still talking about something. So I'm gonna take us on this segue journey here. And on the live call that I'm mentioning here, I had mentioned an animal called the stoat or the ermine because a friend of mine, she did a tarot or oracle card reading on Instagram, and she said, "Oh, I don't know what this animal is." And I was like, "Oh, it's an ermine." And I don't think I have the book here, but maybe I'll bring it out another time. But I have this book that I'd recently found, and it's some like Christmas parade thing, and it had an ermine in it. This was another book I thought had burned in the house fire I experienced when I was 15. So it was like fun, interesting to find, but then also to find it and see this ermine and have it stand out to me, and then watch this card reading all within a couple days. So I was going to bring up ermines because they are not exactly similar, uh, but sort of similar to one of the snake's only known enemies, the mongoose. So it's a different species, a different species. And while I was looking for some imagery for cockatrice and came across these two images that somehow blended into the background. So let me show you what I mean here. Let me figure out how I can share. I mean, maybe I should just cut this off here and start the next. I think maybe that's what I'll do. Let me think about it. Let me look through real quick. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end this here, and then I'm gonna just do the next video. So I will read this slide as the first one of the next video. But we are still focused on these Posidon, cockatrice, basil, basilisk, ermine energies. So let me just do like the thank you page that I made. Until next time.